Hey everybody, so for today's video I want to talk about some of the positive benefits that I've experienced while taking Adderall XR. If you didn't know, I've made a video previously where I described 5 of the worst effects that I've experienced while taking Adderall XR, but I feel it's only fair to also make a video where I cover some of the benefits that I've experienced, because some of the benefits were actually quite pleasant and enjoyable. So I've made a list of about 4 of them here, and I hope to balance out my previous video, which was pretty well received, so let's just get into it. Now, the first thing on my list is just how much it helped me with prioritization and execution of tasks. And maybe that doesn't make sense to somebody who hasn't taken Adderall or somebody who hasn't suffered from ADHD, but let me tell you, when you take your first central nervous system stimulant that is stronger than coffee, it's as if you've suddenly been imbued with the ability to very quickly decide what is important and what is not. It's tremendously helpful for starting a project or following through on a project or deciding what needs to get done first. So absolutely, one of the major benefits of taking Adderall XR was my sudden ability to take the tasks that I needed to accomplish in a day, prioritize them, and execute them. That is a skill that I believe I learned from Adderall XR, and I've been able to maintain since the time period that I've stopped, but it's something that is definitely heightened while under the influence of the drug. Another element to the prioritization and execution of tasks that Adderall helps you with is taking the first step on a task. Many people run into analysis paralysis or some form of block where you just can't get started on a project because you don't quite know where to begin. I found that in the time period where I took Adderall XR, it completely destroyed that first block. So for a lot of people, actually the hardest part of the project is just getting started on it. So being able to take that first step was greatly facilitated by Adderall, and I think it would probably help many other people as well. The next thing that I have on my list here is the sustained caffeine-like boost throughout the entire day. Now, keyword in that sentence is entire day. Many people drink coffee, and many memes and American culture is centered around the fact that 85% of us enjoy caffeine in the morning. And caffeine is a central nervous system stimulant, just as Adderall and Ritalin are, but is different in important ways. But my main point here is that Adderall offers many of the feelings of being on a caffeine high sustained throughout the day. So I'm sure you're familiar with the caffeine crash, which may come pretty quickly after drinking your coffee, maybe 3 to 4 hours afterwards. Now, when you take an Adderall XR, it's as if you received the positive euphoric benefits of a caffeine high without them diminishing. It's as if when you hit that 3-hour mark, or some people are, oh, I need another cup of coffee, you're just soaring. You're hitting your stride. You're just beginning to be able to express yourself that day and be forthright in the world. And so I think that's definitely a major benefit in terms of energy that Adderall XR offered me. Another thing I have here on my list is the initial burst of euphoria you feel every single morning that you take Adderall. And now, I took Adderall for 5 years. I took it at a very high dose, and I often abused my dose when I was addicted to the drug. But that euphoria that you experience in the first 1 to 2 hours after taking the drug cannot be understated. I often I don't laugh, but I'm tempted to dismiss some of the other stimulant highs when I describe my Adderall high, because people talk about how a cocaine rush feels and things like that. Let me tell you, when you wake up in the morning and you take your Adderall in the ritualistic way that many people do, and you have your music playing and you have your day is beginning, that euphoria is unmatched. I just cannot imagine that another drug could provide that length of euphoria in the very morning hours, which I absolutely loved. I mean, going to college is fantastic when you have your headphones in and you're just in another mind state completely, another heaven-like experience essentially every morning, where you're just convinced that you can handle the day and everything is going to be great. And that was fueled by you taking the drug about an hour previously, right after you woke up. So the initial burst of euphoria is powerful, and it's absolutely a benefit in terms of mood regulation and just general outlook on life. Like, I wish I could kind of harness that euphoria without the drug, because it would always get my day started and feeling like it was going to go extremely well. So the next thing I have on my list here is the positive reward that it gives you for completing dull tasks. Many people have menial things that they need to complete throughout their entire day. They need to send emails, they need to fill out that form they didn't want to fill out, they need to do all these annoying, burdensome, maybe repetitive, just dull and listless tasks. Luckily, when you take an Adderall XR, at least for me in my experience, I became very interested in accomplishing those things. I wanted to essentially clear the deck. I wanted to make sure that I had no more busy work or just things that I had been putting off. So a huge benefit of taking Adderall XR is all of a sudden having a willingness to do all the dull tasks you haven't wanted to do before. And that's probably the reason behind a lot of the memes about cleaning your room or organizing all your stuff under the influence of Adderall, because it does suddenly make you want to complete many of the dull tasks that you have been putting off. And as a college student, and I'm sure if you were actually at any other position in your life, if you were to suddenly complete many of the dull tasks you've been putting off, you would be in a better position. So it can quickly become rather addictive when you every day are able to slay the things that you don't want to do in a pretty quick way, where other people are groaning and moaning about it. You're driven by this stimulant that's allowing you to very quickly complete these things and then just get on with your day. So that was definitely a benefit. The last thing I have here on this list is where I talk about the curiosity-driven endurance that Adderall XR can give you. Now, for me, curiosity-driven endurance basically means that throughout the day, all the tasks that interested me, either intellectually or physically, anything that interested me or piqued my curiosity, I had full endurance to devote myself to learning that task. So say you were interested in welding. If you took an Adderall XR and you are very interested in learning to weld, it is quite likely that you're going to spend a lot of time on YouTube and on forums reading and thoroughly learning how to weld. And that sounds maybe pretty straightforward. It maybe sounds like something you would do anyway, and maybe it is. But what many people don't do is actually approach the tasks that they're interested in learning. So when you're driven on this stimulant experience to learn or to gain a new skill, you have pure endurance. You could keep going for 12 hours. Many people will stop after 1 or 2 hours or when they hit their first roadblock. Having curiosity-driven endurance is almost like a superpower in some ways. So say that you're actually rather interested in your math homework or your chemistry homework. If you happen to be interested in it, the stimulant is going to work like synergy with that. And it's just going to basically, you and the stimulant are going to team up and you're going to be able to spend as long as really you want to do this. So that curiosity-driven endurance, I suppose, could also be hijacked for people who like playing video games. And I've promised that I'll make a video on this, and I'm sure I eventually will, where curiosity-driven endurance can be based around an RPG video game or an exploration video game. But luckily, now this is a benefit video. If you devote it to something that actually is worthwhile to learn, such as maybe coding or anything that you find interesting, you're going to find yourself having a lot of energy to keep maintaining this motivation. And so I think that's going to draw a close to some of the benefits that I experienced on Adderall XR. I definitely can think of more, and let me know if you want me to create another video. But thanks for all my new subscribers, and consider subscribing if you're new. Thanks.